All right, what is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode podcast where every single week I interview top real estate professionals, top entrepreneurs, and strip top badasses out there dominating in their space. And today, guys, got another epic, amazing, badass guest here on the podcast. Actually, a repeat guest. It's been on. It's been some years. So, but I'm excited for this one, man. Like, if you guys are at the point in your life where maybe you're feeling down, maybe you're feeling discouraged, maybe you're struggling with just finding that identity, finding that purpose, and getting things turned around from a mental perspective to get yourself into action. So many people talk about motivation, but they don't really break down what that means and how to acquire it. So, with our guest today, we're going to go deep on this today. So just a quick backstory. So, got his entrepreneur journey started in the food space. So he started off serving, then opened up his own bakery, but grew this bakery, spent about a decade in that industry to doing over $1 million a year. Sold it, then jumped into real estate. So he's been in real estate for, over 20 years now, roughly. And, created a lot of success in real estate. Now is managing a highly, one of the top real estate teams in the country. So really stoked and honored to have Aaron Hendon back on the podcast. Welcome back, brother.
Hey, thanks, Joshua. It's great to be here. I'm really glad that we got to make the time work, find the time that works between us. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. When we were talking a couple of weeks ago, in a phone conversation, and man, yeah, I'm excited for this, dude. And well, just because when were we on the pod? Was that about 5 or 6 years ago?
Oh my God. I don't look everything, if you say to me something was 10 years ago, I think it's 2000. So it doesn't really work. And people born in 2000 should not be able to drink. So time doesn't mean anything to me. I don't know how long ago. It was probably 5 or 6 years, realistically.
Yeah.
Years.
So, some of our watchers, they may have saw it, but it's a long time ago, but then there's probably a lot that haven't. So let's just kind of do a quick snapshot of,
Sure.
Okay. You had the bakery, sold that, had a great exit with that. Again, it was a highly, highly successful bakery, doing over $1 million a year in volume, and revenue, but then what took you from that industry to jumping into real estate? And then just kind of give us maybe a quick snapshot of your real estate career, and then we'll jump into all the shit you're doing, mindset stuff.
Because it's a sort of there's a line and there's a thread in there somewhere. So I did the bakery. I loved it. I actually graduated school with an art degree, and moved out from New York to New Mexico and started the bakery. Really, I started waiting tables, and the baker in the restaurant quit. And I thought, all right, I'll go try that. And then I won some blue ribbons in the New Mexico State Fair and decided I'd start a bakery. And that was great. Tons of fun. And it was a really community driven and employee driven kind of event. Like, it was a scene. If you were in Albuquerque in the 90s, you knew my bakery. And it was just fun. It was a blast, and sold it. I had done a program in the middle there. My business coach had recommended I do this thing called the Landmark Forum. I don't know if you ever heard of that, but it was, it's a transformational mindset, context driven educational program. And it blew my mind. It was great. And I applied it to the business, and the business, started to become profitable. It was great. And I decided I wanted to go do that full time. Empower people that way. So I went to work for Landmark, and I did that for 13 years or so. And then when I left Landmark, I decided I wanted to do something else, and something that gave me a little bit more free time, raise a family. I had 2 kids at that point. And then I jumped into real estate. And I've always had that sort of service mindset in real estate. My favorite jobs were always waiting tables. I think waiting tables is the best job you could have. I love it.
Yeah.
Cash in your hand in the night, no worries, no obligations. All you do is take care of people. That's your biggest set of problems. How am I going to take care of people within these parameters? Love that. And real estate struck me as the best parts of that, taking care of people within a set of parameters. The best part of entrepreneurism, which is, I get to be creative, but I don't have to talk to people about, I invented this new widget and it does that. No. It's real estate. Yeah, people know what it is, but you can do it a million ways. We were talking pre-show about FSBOs, expires, mailers, classes, however, you could, million strategies and tactics, a million different ways that if you found an expression, you can do it. And so I started doing that. I started a team with a partner. This woman, Christine Andreasen, is someone who always attracted wealth. She's, people that just like have money coming to them.
Yep.
I was never that kind of person. I was not that kind of person. Things are never, I was like, my motto is always, things are never so bad they can't get worse. And very New York, very heavy in that. And but she was all light and possibility and money. And I was like, all right. Excuse me, I'm just getting over cold. I said, all right, well, I'm joining your team. And she said, I don't have a team. I said, you do now. And we've been building a team for the last 10 years of people and empowering them in this conversation for, look, you could either get committed that things are never so bad they can't get worse, which, I say as a joke, but really that's sort of a default mindset for a lot of people is, waiting for the good times to end, waiting for the shoe to drop, waiting for something bad to happen, as opposed to, no, where I am, things work, life works, and and it's a choice. What are you going to have your attention on? And we started training our agents in that. And I just got fascinated by the way people get more productive when they are responsible for the thoughts they have, rather than just pretending, oh, I can't do anything because these are the thoughts I have. One of the, so anyway, that's my backstory. I have a little segue into mindset if you want, but I wanted to draw a line there. That's why I got into real estate.
Yeah, no, I love it, dude. So then, because I was like, when people ask me, it's like, okay, strategy, action, all of that stuff. But when people are like, what's the equation? I'm like, I don't know if there is an equation, but if I were to give my best guess, I think 90% of it's mental, 10% is like, look, if I have extreme clarity on what I want, why I want it, why it's important to me, I truly believe that I can make a reality. I have, as Napoleon Hill talked about. I mean, that's why he starts Napoleon Hill with that deep burning desire to go out there and create success. And that's where everything starts. And it's like, okay, if you have that burning deep desire and you know what it is that you want to create, and again, that burning desire to go out there and make it a reality, well, I can have a shitty plan and I'm going to figure it out.
That's right. You're going to figure it out.
Okay, but I can have I can give everybody every cheat code that exists on the planet. But if this isn't right, dude, the cheat codes don't matter.
And if this is right, you're going to find the cheat code, because there is no cheat code. The cheat code, it's not even like it's hard work. I hate that too. I hate like working harder, grinding it out. That's not the answer. It's not, so we were, the metaphor of the stonecutters works in that particular context. I'm just going to, because what we've come to on the team and what I've come to in empowering people is there's a story about 3 stonecutters, and there's a guy walking down a country path and he sees a guy with a rock and a chisel, and he's sweaty and he's angry and he's upset and he's banging the rock and the guy says, excuse me, what are you doing? The guy says, well, look, I'm doing, asshole. I'm banging stone. I'm chipping stone here. Sorry for bothering you, man. It's cool. And he walks down the road, and 20 paces down the road, there's another guy, chisel, hammer, stone. This guy's got a pressed shirt on, suspenders, pressed pants. He's clean. His hair is neat. He's professional. He's moving around methodically around the stone. And he says, excuse me, what are you doing? And he says, I am a stonemason, and this is my career. This is what I do. I turn rocks into building blocks. Well, thank you. Thanks for taking the time. He says, you're welcome. And he keeps walking 20 paces down the road, and there's a guy, and he's got, you ever see anyone with like a light in their eye? And he's flowing around the rock, same chisel, same hammer, same stone, but he's moving with a grace that's noticeable. And he asks him, what are you doing? And he says, oh, I am building a cathedral. And I didn't make that story up. That's just a common story for how mindset matters, that smiling and dialing, cold calling, not door knocking, whatever you're doing, you're either chipping stone, or you're building a cathedral, or you're a stonemason, or you're a professional realtor. That's fine. It's all fine. It's all fine. But to pretend that it's the stone that's the problem, or the way you're chipping it is the problem, or you need a new way to chip the stone is madness. Because the person building the cathedral is, without a doubt, creating new ways to chip stone. Where the The idiot who's just chipping stone, who's angry about it, isn't. And so that's like the base part of that is, and then the thing that I think, and you and I were just talking about this, I think what people miss is no one builds a cathedral because they like stained glass windows and they need a place to put them. No one builds a cathedral because they like the way cathedrals look. People build cathedrals because there's some idea, some ideal that's bigger than them that they want to build something in honor of. Cathedrals are built to honor something.
Yeah.
And what people don't take the time to do is create what they honor so much that their business, their cathedral, would be in honor of that.
Yeah. And
then their cold calling and everything shows up as the opportunity to build. Then that chipping stone, the cold calling, is I'm building a business in service of what I'm up to. You know, your business has a future. You've created something that your business is in service of.
Yep.
You know,
100%. Yeah. The way I always look at it is, you know, which is kind of funny. It's not quite stone cutting, but it's okay. Like if we just visualize that we're all bricklayers. Yeah. So you're just slapping concrete on this brick, laying the brick, slapping concrete on the brick, laying the brick. Now it's a boring, mundane, tedious activity. So it's like, okay, every email, every contract we write, every cold call, everything that we have to do, you know, right? So no matter what, you're stacking the bricks all day long, every day. But where I find that most people go wrong is they don't take the time to get clarity on what is the, metaphorically speaking, empire that they must go out there and build, and why is it important for them to build it. You know, but then from there, once you have clarity on what that empire is that you need to build, why you exist in this life, well, then now I can reverse architect, you know, or reverse engineer the architectural plans. So now, even though I'm still laying bricks every day, now I'm laying them with intention, right? And then I'm seeing progress, you know, even brick by brick, these boring, mundane, tedious activities. Well, I'm even seeing daily progress, you know, right? And it eliminates burnout, but then what most people do is they end up building themselves accidentally, unintentionally into a prison versus that empire.
Well, nice.
I don't know if you know this, but I used to work, before I got into real estate, I worked for 2 years in the hospital. And I was a nurse's aide, and most of my time was spent on the hospice floor. This is like when I was 20, 21. You know, and hospice is called it heaven's waiting room, right? It's like kind of last stage where people are going before they end this life. And my job, dude, as a nurse's aide, was just to freaking hang out with the patients and make them happy, make them feel good, make them comfortable. And, you know, because nurses, doctors, like they're in and out with all the legalities. And so, I mean, I spent, 12-hour shifts with just people in the last phases of their life. And 2 years of my life was spent doing this.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was my age or just because I became close with them and connected with them, but I wasn't friends and family where they felt like maybe they could be open and honest with me. And I wasn't tracking it, but, probably, close to 1,000 conversations or so, dude, every single one of those conversations was around regret. You know, like, man, don't, do this, don't make this mistake. Man, I wished I would have married somebody different. Wish I would have ended after a different career, been a better, and you could see the pain in their eyes. I never had one person that was like, life was amazing. Life was epic. I can't wait for the next journey, whatever that may be, right. And that was such a powerful experience for me of, like, look, just came to the realization, dude, like most people spend more time designing their grocery list or Christmas than they ever do thinking about their overall life plan. And like you said, what is that deep purpose and even that deeper purpose that's even maybe beyond them, because when we lack that, dude, burnout kicks in, all this other frustration, all that stuff.
Yeah. No one ever sat around and went, oh, I went to too many of my kids' ball games. No one ever sits around. But that thing you just said about spending more time designing our grocery list, and that's true. I think that there's a bunch of stuff at Joshua inside what you just said. There's that taking the time to designing that future to what you really want, to what it looks like. There's a world of evidence in the law of attraction space around the more you articulate, the more clearly you define the future that you want, and the more you spend time visualizing and experiencing yourself already having that now, the more easily it comes to you. And then there's all the work that we do to let go of all the obstacles. I'm a huge proponent, and we have everyone on the team do the savers from Miracle Morning, all those practices.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. Can you
the Miracle Morning? The Miracle
I'm
Morning.
familiar with I've heard of
I guarantee
Rod or whatever, but I've not.
Yeah.
I've never read it.
Okay, it's super easy read, super light. Maybe take an hour, but the practices you can skip reading it because it's what is it? It's scribing, it's journaling. They have it in an acronym, SAVERS. So it's you scribe, you journal, you A is now I'm gonna blow it.
Appreciation, gratitude, or something.
Yeah, appreciation, gratitude. You do visualization, you do exercise, you do reading, and you do solitude, quiet meditation. So very hard to believe you don't practice most of those, right?
Yeah, no, I do. I just
right.
You
had to put it in
that book. Yep.
Yeah. But because those things start your day in a mindset of abundance. I've been leading gratitude mindfulness meditations. I'm getting certified as a mindfulness instructor. One of the places this whole thing has led me is just really appreciate mindfulness. And been taking the time to lead mindfulness exercises for the team before our team meetings. And they're just dynamite for the team. People just love to slow down. I mean, I don't love to slow down. I don't suspect you love to slow down. I love after I've slowed down.
Yeah.
I love having forced myself to slow down. My whole thing is, let's go, baby. Let's fucking get it done. And so to find something that slows me down is such a big deal. But you got to slow down to design that future. That's what made me think of that. You got to stop just mindlessly doing.
Yep.
And take the time to adjust who you're being and who you want to be and what that would look like and what does that sound like, and then to chew yourself up down the road to that.
So then, a lot of people talk, and it's something that I talk about all the time too. And we get told that all the time, like, oh, you got to find your purpose. You got to find your why. And man, a lot of people, like I find, like it's like half the population, half the conversation I have with people, like they're able to discover it. The other half the people almost screws them up more because they don't necessarily know how to find it now. They self-sabotage so, with that being said, what are things, I'm guessing that this probably even goes back to your days at Landmark, of helping people, because I'm very familiar with Landmark. I never did it, but I did PSI seminars and went through all their stuff. I'm sure you're familiar, kind of similar.
I'm similar.
So with that being said, like what are some of the processes that you do with your agents that our listeners, those watching, listening can maybe learn from? How do you get that clarity out of them? Yeah. Most people I think realize, like the importance of it. They just get stuck with, well, shit, I don't really know. How do I even get that out of how do I get it out of my subconscious?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Really. That is the question. Right. And, so for sure, the mindfulness, anything you do where you slow down, okay, and just breathe. And mindfulness is trippy because literally 10 minutes a day, if you just took, and you can find mindfulness meditations, 10-minute mindfulness meditations on YouTube. You can find me on Facebook. I do it every morning, and then they're recorded. They're there on the wall, or on LinkedIn. I post them on LinkedIn too. You can find me there. 10 minutes. And I do gratitude because just nothing's better than gratitude, but that, first of all, you slow the mind down. And then we do an exercise. We have about an hour-long exercise we do with people on the team where we walk people through a series of questions. So if people wanted to do it on their own, the questions that's not like some big proprietary secret. It's but to do it, you look for first of all, you start with a question. What is it at the end of my days I would like to say my life fulfilled? Which speaks to directly what you were talking about.
Yep.
That's the question that those people with regrets didn't answer for themselves in time. At the end of my days, I want to be able to say my life fulfilled X.
Yep.
And with that question in mind, you then can go take a look back over your life and see what were the moments in life where you were inspired? You know, just by yourself. It could be movies you watched. It could be books you read, could be interactions you had with people. It could be things you saw other people do. But, you know, I'm 60, and between the time I was born and now, there were things in life that I stick out in my mind, moments in time that stuck out that inspired me. And if you take the time to do that work, to just write those down, and that's maybe 15, 20 minutes, you know, just reflect on it. You'll be able to see it. You begin to get there's a theme, there's a thread, there's a common element for you that's personal to you, Joshua. It's personal to each person listening. There's something about life that inspires you, that if it were fulfilled around you, if you could spend your time fulfilling that, it would make the difference. Yep. So when I did that work the first time, and it's been evolving, but for me, and the way we language it is we just talk about our calling, like what am I called to do in life? You call it mission, you call it vision. I am not here to split those hairs. There's different, and mission and vision and calling all have different meanings in different contexts. I don't want to diminish if you have one over the other, but my calling is people experience their own agency in life. And when I look back at my life, you know, agency being the ability to determine how their life goes, having a say about the quality of their life. And in my view, people have agency. They just don't always experience it. And everything I do, from raising my kids so that they have the experience of their own agency, to my team, to my clients, you know, when I sell a house, I'm out to empower that person in having the agency that the equity in that house expresses, and that they are educated in everything they need to do. And I have that informed. That is the idea that the cathedral of my life is in honor of. So whatever I do in life, I'm building a cathedral in honor of people experiencing their own agency. But that process of stepping through to look what authentically inspired you, and then wordsmithing it a little bit. I mean, obviously we can't do the whole process here on this podcast, but if people wanted it, I have a video of me walking through it with people, and we'll throw a link in the notes, and they can,
okay.
And they can get that. I normally charge for that, but I think, Joshua, your question, I think that thing that you said to me pre-show really hit me, because first of all, I hate the fucking nature of the webinar business and our business. I hate that everything is learn how to do this, and you get on their webinar and it's really a sales pitch that they're not going to tell you till oh my God, if I get one more of those, I'm going to kill myself. Hate those fucking things. And then everything is, this idea is great. This video sales letter, this thing is great. This FSBO thing is great, but no one really talks about, all right, how do I do this?
Yep.
And how do I implement this? And that's the other piece, because you could invent a future, but I can tell you have talked about your future enough, and it lives for you in enough places that it's actually alive. It's not that you're just going to invent this thing and it's going to handle everything. You invent this thing, and then you've got to do the work to implement it, talk about it, share it, look to see where, you know, you got to, you know, just like faith, you know, no one just wakes up in a world in which they have faith in a higher power. They work on their faith, and their faith is tested, and the metaphor gets better and better the more I talk about it. But yeah, you know, like you got to work on all that. So you got to work it. Anyway, I'm happy to give people the video of me walking through it, and then I'll follow up with people and make sure they got it, so that it's something that speaks to them, because I really committed that that's an access to agency.
Yeah, perfect. Love it, man. Anybody that's watching or listening, I'll get before we release this, I'll get the link from Aaron. So that'll be right below in the video. If you're on YouTube or like iTunes or wherever, it'll be in the show notes or the description below. And yeah, dude, I mean, look, so I always go back to Think and Grow Rich, right? So if you look at, I'm sure that you've read that book, right?
It's in my bookshelf right behind me.
Yeah. When you look at,
every year,
a lot of people don't understand how that book came about. Right. So you got, and I know that you know this, but I'm kind of sharing this with the audience. All right. Yeah. So you got Napoleon Hill. He's working for this newspaper, and he gets commissioned to go out there and interview Andrew Carnegie, who's the richest man in the world at the time. So he goes and interviews him, but then Andrew Carnegie became so impressed with him. So this is Napoleon Hill at like 19, 20 years old. And he's like, I think you're the perfect guy, for a mission that I've been wanting to do for a long time, but I've just been waiting for the perfect person to show up in my life. And I think you're the perfect person to do this. He goes, now it's going to take 20 years of your life. I'm going to open up my black book and connect you with the most powerful, successful human beings, from presidents to artists to inventors to the most successful, it'd be like Elon Musk today opening up his black book of so he's going to interview the 500 most elite, successful people in all these different fields, but then it was something like, okay, then you're going to study, the 10,000 greatest failures, out there. And I want you to spend the next 20 years. Now it took him 25, to do it. But, and he's like, I'm not going to pay you. Right. Like you're going to, but I'm going to give you the opportunities. But then I want you to create the manifesto, the playbook, of how to go out there and create success, what to do and what not to do. But then even before he released it, Edison, Ford, and Carnegie all had to sign off on it, like ensuring that there was nothing missing, nothing flawed. So like when people don't take that book serious, I'm like, whoa, like how could you not? But dude, everything that you just spoke to, it's, it talks about, that deep burning desire, right. But then, manifesting deeply for 30 minutes a day on that desire, yep. Because your subconscious can't tell the difference from your brain can't tell the difference between subconscious to conscious, so like when you
real or made up.
Yeah. So, okay, like if you got that dream mansion you want to have, it's like visualizing what already exists in your world. Like you're pulling up in your car, you're walking and you're cooking in the kitchen, or whatever, but then from there, like where I think, it's like the movie, The Secret, if you ever watch that, it's like they took the manifestation part, but they forgot to then back it with, like Napoleon Hill talks about, then, you got to take massive action. Your level of success will be in direct correlation to your temporary defeats, meaning failures, but yeah, no, I mean, I freaking love it, dude. It's,
have you read, Conversations with the Devil?
Oh yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
I got to tell people about that, because now that sounds weird. So Napoleon Hill also wrote a book called Conversations with the Devil that he was afraid to release in his time in the 1920s. He was afraid to release it. And he said it could only be released, like, what was it, 40 years after his death?
Well, he wanted to release it, but his wife wouldn't let him.
Oh, that's what, okay, fine.
And then his kids, even after he died, were still thought it'd be too controversial. So yeah, it was like in 2007, like now that it's like great grandkids or like they finally decided to release it.
And it's a story. It's him talking to the devil, and the devil giving Napoleon Hill the secrets of how he has enslaved humanity, his tools for enslaving humanity. And it's wild. I mean, if you're already in the world of Napoleon Hill is a resource and a valuable resource for life, the book is mind-blowing.
Yep. Yeah. I can't. And those that, if you enjoy audiobooks, and everybody consumes things differently and better in different ways. Yeah. But the audiobook is really cool because it's a different voice for the devil. Like, I don't know. I did both. Right. I've, read the book multiple times. I've done the audiobook probably, I don't know. Yeah. For me, I've got to like read and listen to a book at least a half a dozen times, like to really get any, like, if I'm the first time around, like, it'll make me motivated, but I don't
get it
enough to actually, get the gold out of the book.
Yeah. And Think and Grow Rich is perfect inside what you were talking about earlier, and what we just talked about, is that it is how to. It is not you should.
Yep.
It's not it would be good if you. This is how you do it. This is do it. This is it. This is how you do it. And Conversation with the Devil, given we gave no context for that all, is really pitfalls, things to avoid. Really, what it comes down to, it is what you don't want to do. but yeah, that's, everything I got is Think and Grow Rich. We took a road trip with the kids and we listened to it in the car. Cause I was like, all right, I'm getting my kids in this world. It's the shit. And that's the thing is you've got to create for yourself. You've got to get for yourself what matters to you. And I love the story about hospice because, that's what I have zero doubt that's what people are left with on their deathbeds is, this has to be one of your memes. I'm sure I've liked this meme before, but we will regret far more the things we didn't do than the mistakes we made in doing things.
Yep.
That you can't fuck it up. You just can't fuck it up. You can't fuck it up. You can't, Kobe is like, no, it's wins or lessons. It's wins or lessons. You can't make a mistake. There's no mistakes. There's just what's next. And when you're building a cathedral that matters to you, that becomes infinitely clearer. That you just keep taking the next action, the next action, the next action. And I think especially now when business is 40% off and the world is going to hell in a handbasket and everything around us looks like it's dire, our ability to stay at a higher vibration, at a vibration that, fulfilling on what matters to us. I don't even know that it's more difficult. I actually don't have the experience of it being more difficult. I think it's more important, but I don't know that it's more difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. And people that are, and there's nothing wrong with being money driven, if that's what truly drives you, but at least for me in my own experience and for most that, I've, I mean, my whole entire friend circle, everything, just, driven entrepreneurs, but it's like, I mean, money will take you so far, but then from there, those that take it the furthest, it's much deeper than money, and what was really interesting is, because I've had the pleasure of, interviewing and meeting some billionaires like here on the podcast and spending time with several billionaires and, those worth, I mean, just, extremely high net worths. Now to the rest of the general, like the average person looking, an outsider looking in, assumes that, oh man, they're just freaking care about money. They're so greedy, but I haven't met one of them at that level that it was about greed. They were so obsessed with contribution, right? So obsessed with impact and contribution. And they did it at such a high level that they got rewarded with the money because they solved so many problems, added so much value to people's lives, whatever. And I think that's a mistake that so many people make. And to your point earlier, like if you make it where it's not selfish, it's not about you. And even little things like, with real estate clients, like, okay, is it about my needs? Like before I get on a quote unquote prospecting call, which I don't call them to me, they're human beings, but it's like, okay, my job is to help them with their needs. My needs are irrelevant, but just framing my mindset in that way makes for such a more powerful conversation. Cause now I'm looking, like, I don't call it my lead follow-up list. It's like, hey, here's my daily impact list. Here's the human beings that I'm going to reach out to today. And what I'm looking to do is have a positive impact on them, whether it be real estate related or not. Yeah. But it makes my calls that much more enjoyable, right? Makes that rapport, that connection, and my conversions, like if anyone wants to compare, I'm sure my conversions are about as good or as better than it, right? So, but just those mental frames, man, it just changes shit so fast.
Yeah. We have our team, anyone who goes through the course, anyone who goes through the hour-long thing, I'll send them this book too. It's a little calling a phoning journal, effective phoning journal. And one of the things we have people on our team do, the first thing they do is this little things, what their calling is. And then they talk about, what are they concerned about phoning? Like I don't want to make it be a pest. I don't want to bother people but what's the upside of phoning? What's the difference I want to make? I want to make sure these people don't make the mistake of getting less equity for their home than they want. Like both sides of it. You can have both sides of it. You can have the money and make a difference. It's in fact, the best metaphor I heard, and this is really good, Joshua, it's like what you were just talking about, for the law of attraction is, look, if you want it, there's already a train engine driving it towards you. Okay. If you want it, you put it out there, it's coming to you. all that visualization, it's on a train engine, it's coming to you. The only reason why it's getting here slowly is because you have a train engine on the other side pulling the other way. And your job isn't to visualize having it more. Your job is to let go of the things you're resisting about it, is to decouple the train that's pulling it away from you. And one of those things, I think, is, rich people are greedy. It's sort of a hidden context people have around money, is that you couldn't have gotten rich without being greedy, or that money somehow is a zero-sum game, or that, it's wrong to have more than you need. All those different kinds of thoughts pull away from you, like somehow it's inconsistent that you could get paid to make the contribution you want to make. Yeah. And there's no one who's a billionaire who had it any other way, that they were getting paid and we can talk about taxation and all the fairness around that. Political conversation, totally different conversation. And we could have a whole different view on that, but the collection, the reward of it comes when your mindset is, who I am is I get paid for the contribution I make.
Yep. 100%, man. Well, and it brings back to, Jim Rohn, and it's just, the amount of money that you make is in direct correlation of the amount of value that you bring to the marketplace.
You want to
make more money, bring more value. That means you've got the skill sets,
totally,
and to be able to go out there and impact and improve lives. Right. And now I'm curious, you mentioned mindfulness earlier, so I heard this stat the other day. And at first I thought it was kind of a joke, but I went out there and, spent some time on Google, and I don't know if I can really trust Google, but
okay,
it seems to be real, right? So I understand that, we have our own firewall, like China. Like, people think that, you got all this information. It's like, it's manipulated. It's, but anyway, with that, where they're like, okay, I can't remember the exact seconds, but something like the average attention span of a goldfish is 8 seconds. The average attention span of a human being is now 6 seconds. So now we have a lesser attention span. So when it comes to mindfulness, I truly believe that focus is going to be the superpower of the future.
That's
short form content and fucking people just like, dude, like, I love watching old movies, but when you watch the intro of old movies, like, it's like minutes and minutes and minutes before they even get into that. Like, now today, it's just like, dude, if it is not crazy nonstop, go, people check. It's so interesting seeing like how things have had to change because people's attention is so just gone and lost, but mindfulness, is a way to be able to bring that back, to be able to, because, I look at focus as being kind of like a muscle. Like, if I want bigger biceps, okay, like I just, stimulus and recovery, like I can go out there and develop that. Well, same thing with focus.
Totally.
So what is like, how do you most effectively practice mindfulness with you and your agents, and what kind of an impact do you see it making on you and your agents for increasing that focus? So then they can focus on things like figuring out what they want in life.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I do think it's mindfulness focus is a muscle. And the way you get better at growing any muscle is you practice. And what people dislike is that at the beginning, it hurts. It's just, and you're shitty at it.
But like everything when we're new.
But
if I was going to go start dancing today, I'm not a dancer. I'd fucking suck. But if I kept doing it,
and if you were growing new muscles, it would hurt. You would be like, whoa, I didn't even lift that much, but it was a new, angle on the muscle and it hurts. So you just to prep. Okay. But it's not difficult. So the how-to is really, you just, like I said, I do guided 10-minute gratitude meditations every day for anyone who's interested on Facebook. But you could find them on YouTube. There are 1 million free guided mindfulness meditations. And it's weird. It's weird to me because it's so simple. I mean, really, you just pay attention to your breath. Now, the difficult piece is that your mind is going to wander off and go wherever it goes, and you're going to start thinking about other things. But the great thing about mindfulness is that's not a problem. Because one of the principles of mindfulness is non-judgmental awareness and non-striving. So you're not trying to get anywhere. So the mind wandering isn't a problem. In fact, in reality, every time you notice your mind wandering, you're now present. You can't notice your mind wander unless you're present. If you're not noticing your mind wandering, mind is just wandering and you're just wherever you are. The moment you notice it, that's the good news. Like, oh, look, I'm present. And you come back to the simplicity of noticing. You can anchor on anything, the sound of an air conditioner or your breath or anything. And you just go back to noticing that. And in a very short period of time, if you did that for 10 minutes a day, I would say within a week, that conversation. I talk to a lot of people, they have a conversation. I can't do it because my mind wanders and within a week, you would have broken the back on that. Your mind will still wander, but you will no longer have it be painful or a problem. And then it's just downhill from there, or uphill, whatever good is, easier from there to expand that. And then the brain then has that, literally the neuroplasticity. You've created new pathways in your brain that allow you to be present. And this is not me talking. This is, science. Harvard studies show the way the brain changes after meditation for a while. And 10 minutes a day will do this. And it stacks. You don't do it 10 minutes once and then figure I'm good, right? You don't go to the gym once and go, well, look at that. And then go 10 minutes a day. But then you have the opportunity to slow down and be present. So where it shows up on the team and with people is they're way less reactive. For example, when someone says no, or a deal starts to come apart, or they get an offer and it's not where they wanted it, or any of the million ways we can get reactivated in a day. It doesn't take very much to have something happen that's in fact, if nothing happens today, I get reactivated because I'm like, where the fuck am I? Where's my meals? What's happening here? No one called, So it takes literally nothing to get reactive. And you find that you have the opportunity to act rather than react. And that's everything. It's in that pause. It's in that break between that thing happening and then how, a great coach of mine, friend of mine, used to say, look, you don't have a choice about your first thought very often, but you do have a choice about the second thought. And with this pause, the first thought sometimes doesn't even come up. You just get to go right to, okay, and then what we were talking about earlier, what action could I take in this that would fulfill what I'm here for on the planet, that would honor what I'm here for, that would make me a better agent? What's the action I want to take? So slowing down gives you all of that. Yeah. So that's that. I don't know. Is that sort of long answer, but that's how that works.
Well, and as you're talking about that, because I'm one that, I'm a huge believer in this stuff and a huge practitioner of this stuff as well. And I see the impact, but I also see, I think this stuff is more important now than probably ever before because, people have lost the ability to critically think. Part of that's the education system because they're just taught to memorize and test and not, I'm always challenging my kids. Now, my teachers, they all freaking probably hate me, but I'm like, I want you to always ask your teacher, why, can you explain to me why we are specifically learning this thing, how this thing can be applied in my adult life to positively have the impact that I'm looking for? Just challenge, I'm like, fuck, challenge everything, right? Critically think of, so you can understand. But now it's like, okay, we're in the era that the consumption age, the attention economy that we're in. It's like, now it's just a bunch of people telling you what to think, and implant, so a lot of people have lost the ability to critically think. They've lost the ability to be present. Like we said, focus is the new superpower. But then from there, not just only like your point of, okay, now it gives us this space to really clear up that mental space to be able to think about things like extreme clarity, what we want, why it's important to us, get that cathedral, that purpose as you talked about. But then even from little shit, okay, when you're doing sales or follow-up calls, right? Okay, at the end of the day, like when it comes to, sales is about pain and pleasure plus identifying the problems and being able to remove those pain and those problems to get them from the pain, the expense, to the pleasure that they want to experience. Well, if we are not extremely, sorry, swallow something wrong and my voice isn't working. So if we are not extremely focused and extremely present on those calls, if I can't, listen to their tone, how their tonality is changing, listen to, and pay attention to their verbal, nonverbal cues, to lower that sales resistance. If I can't be able to, because to be a good problem solver, first off, you got to be able to identify those problems, and uncover those problems. Right. Where people just, so it's like, this shit creates so much freaking power in ways that people don't understand. And you said this earlier of like, just work more hours. And it's, but, I always challenge people. I'm like, hey, look, I'm not one that says you don't need to work hard, but let me, it's like, okay, if you want a 3 or 4x your business, I mean, what's your business plan? 3 or 4 extra hours? Like for most people, that's physically impossible. So it really comes down to skill set. Like 3 or 4 extra skill set. And one of the most important skill sets that we can learn today is friggin' focus.
Totally. Yeah. We do a lot of work with, flow state and shutting the tabs and turning your phone off and getting binaural beats and getting your brain in focus, Pomodoro method of managing your focus, 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off. Like there's strategies and tactics. Again, those are strategies and tactics to impact your focus. Whereas the habit, the mindset, the habit about it is focus matters. You want to find the ways to be able to manage that, because you're right. Focus is a superpower. In a world where no one's going to focus, where no one else is going to, I was here talking about, it's not that ChatGPT is going to change the world. It's not that AI is going to change the world. It's that people that know how to use AI are going to change the world. It's, can you, and that's a whole nother problem to, with dumbing down people, is the use of that. But, can you use that to maximize your message, your communication, the difference you're out to make? Can you use that to really leave yourself and others fulfilled with what matters to them? At the end of the day, are you going to wind up on a bed regretting not having, with regrets, or are you going to wind up having your life fulfill what your life was for? And if that's in real estate, great. And if it's not, it may not be. That's what we tell the, when we run our 3-month program, we're like, look, this will get you either effective or out of real estate. Those are the two choices here. Because if you're not going to do this, then you shouldn't be in real estate, and you will find something where you are fulfilled. I don't want you to just be here. And, so many people are like, I don't want to do the calls. Okay, well, then you shouldn't be in real estate, my friend. This is really a conversational business. Okay? That's the way the business is.
Yeah, so, I think that I love you bring that up, because I think it's something a lot of team leaders and broker owners either don't realize that it's part of their responsibility, or just don't want to have those conversations. But I think it's like, I look at it as like, I owe it to my people to be like, because for some people, this business isn't really for them. And it's like, okay, like, should I help them go see that door that much quicker instead of them exhausting 6 painful years and then finally hanging up the helmet? Like, and those conversations can be, challenging, but, for some people but either way you're winning, right? Because you're like, your focus isn't selfishly of, okay, we need everybody here to just grow the team. It's, hey, we're here as team leaders to go out there and impact these people. Now, if this industry and our environment's for them, that's awesome. But if it's not, okay, let's go help them find what is for them.
Totally. This isn't for everyone. We already know it's high D's and not high S's, right? I mean, general, right? High D's, high I's make it here, and high S's and high C's are generally transaction coordinators. It's not a problem. It's not like it's not that you can't make it. It's just generally, and unless they are going to do the work to make it, they're not. And that's okay. Someone's got to be a transaction coordinator. And I don't mean like someone's got to pick up the shit. I mean it like there are people for whom their calling is making sure that everything is in order, or whatever. I don't know how they'd say it, but like make sure though that things are where they need to be. Fulfills some people. Doesn't fulfill me. That's not the way I live my life, but that's okay. I went to art school. I'm like, a messy guy, but point is, you have a voice. Everyone's got a voice. Everyone's got a calling. Everyone's got something that would light them up and inspire them and leave them at the end of their days on their deathbed with no regrets. And are we going to do the work to empower people to find it or not? And I'm really out to empower people to find it.
Yeah, I think that's so key. What you just said there is you got to get them to find it. Most people are just waiting for it to just magically appear in their life, versus like being intentional of figuring out what these things are. And then, all right. So, we talked a lot about how to go out there and maybe get that clarity, but then from there, how do you keep it? Like, what do you do? What do you advise your agents to do? Cause it's like, it's easy to go to some freaking seminar, be pumped up and, but then after like 2 weeks that wanes and wanes and wanes. So it's not just defining it. Now it's kind of an intentional practice going forward to keep it. So what do you do to keep it?
Yeah, well, I think you do the same thing you do with your gains. When you go to the gym, it's the same. There's nothing. We just started our 90-day training, and one of the things I was communicating to them was, you've got to get prepared for the unbearable boredom of success, because it is unbearable sometimes that you are just going to be asked to do the same thing over and 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 over. Even, I don't mean do the same over to put in your 10,000 hours to get good at it. I mean, even after you're good at it, it's going to be the same thing over. This works, and you're just going to do this thing. So, so first of all, that's step one, is acknowledging that the moment you stop going to the gym, you're going to start losing those gains. That's just how that is. That's not, you'll have the idea of it, but you can't just, the moment you stop creating the marriage you have, the moment she starts turning into the old ball and chain. I mean, that is just period. End of the day, how life works. It's a creative process, an ongoing creative process. So you got to keep creating your calling and finding ways to create your calling. So on our team huddles every morning, people start with, we start with gratitude and wins for the day. And in that, everyone says, all right, well, my calling is, and then they say what their calling is. And then here's my gratitude or win for the day. So we have opportunities, practices to keep that in existence. Then I have the phoning journal, where you write your calling out, and then you're actually doing work to write down what you're grateful for, and write down what you're afraid of, and write down how you're phoning today is going to fulfill on your calling. It's repetitive. It's boring. It's the same thing. And your job really is, I really do liken it to a marriage. If I stop creating my marriage newly, it becomes stale. It becomes, don't you remember I was wearing the tux, you were wearing white, I said I loved you. I remember that. And that's where marriages dissolve into. That's why people get addicted to new relationships, because it's new. But fine, but then it just goes downhill. That's fine. That's the way. That's entropy. Castles made of sand fall into the sea. Eventually everything falls apart. Everything goes to the lowest possible energy state. So as soon as you create something, you've got to keep putting energy into it to keep it there. And you got to find ways to do that. So we do it. Those are the couple of ways we do it. But the biggest hurdle for people isn't defining the things to do, is thinking that they shouldn't need to.
Yeah.
Is thinking that motivation is supposed to last. Brushing your teeth doesn't last. You don't brush your teeth once and think I'm done. You brush twice a day. And no one's like, I can't believe I have to brush my teeth twice a day. I guess dental hygiene's bullshit. No one thinks that. They just brush their teeth twice a day. Okay, well, you got to keep the possibilities you invent alive somehow. You have to keep talking about them every day.
Yeah.
And have it be like brushing your teeth.
Yeah. And I look at it of, because I work with, coach, aspiring team leaders and broker owners right now, build and scale. And like, I'll tell them, because this is where I was at. Like, I hated the cold calls. I mean, I'm really good. I enjoy inbound, right. And when inbound meaning not just like a Facebook lead, but like meaning they booked on my calendar. They want to speak to me. They're excited to speak to me. Great conversations. But okay, in the beginning, like I had to do a shit ton of outbound like everybody else, but then I was like, okay, well, I hate doing it so much that I'm going to get so damn good at it and make so much money at it where then I can eventually hire the people to do the shit I hate. So then I never had to do it again, right? But
that's great.
Have you read the book Atomic Habits?
I love Atomic Habits. It's part of the course. It's everything. I love it. So powerful. What do you want to share about it?
Yeah. So I can't remember the name of the coach that he interviewed, but it's like one of the most elite trainers, Olympic trainers, professional athlete trainers, like works with the best of the best. And James Clear asked him, he's like, okay, just to get to the professional level, like you got to be amazing. You're going to have the innate talent. You're going to be, you're going to be the, like top tier. Right. But he's like, what's the difference between kind of just the average top of the top versus like the Tom Brady's, like the best of the best? And his response was their ability to push through the boredom. And I found so much power in that, just what you talked about, where it's just like, the idea and thought of success is so sexy, but it's like the mundane, tedious, boring shit they got to do every day, day in and day out to get that. Dude, it is not, there's nothing sexy about it.
Tom Brady's in bed at 8 p.m. I mean, at 8 p.m., every day, a grown man, six rings, model wife, great, unbelievable life. That's how much he gets to enjoy his life. 8 p.m. he's in bed.
Yep.
Because he's got something his cathedral is in honor of, and he is faithful to that. That's the church of Tom Brady for Tom, and that worked for him. And you see it all the time in professional sports. This guy's got talent, and then the next thing you know, he's out of the job. All the time. Talent is nice, but it does not carry the day, and it never carries the day. It just can't. You've got that. That's great. I'm so glad you brought that up. Yeah, I love James Clear.
Yep, 100%. So I know we spent a lot of time talking on mindset and all of this amazing stuff that we talked about, but I do want to, because I know we're going long on time, I do kind of want to circle it back to, look, the market is shifting and changing, has dramatically in the last 18 to 24 months. According to NAR, the average realtor's business is down 40%, which means the average team leader brokerage is down 40% as well.
Yeah.
What are you and your team doing to, pivot, shift, adapt, strategy standpoint, right now that's working really well, as we're getting deeper in this kind of economic winter that we're in?
Yeah. All right. Well, I wish I had something that was working really well to share. Honestly, like I wish I would be like, yeah, hey, this one strategy works. There's literally 40% less deals. So it's, what our motto on the team is more wells and deeper wells.
Yep.
Okay. So we're digging more wells. I'm going through, I'm signing up for Prop Stream, and I'm getting seniors, and I'm going to start a different campaign and marketing to that. More wells, areas,
more strategies, more sources.
Yeah, more sources, and then deeper wells. So my existing clients, right? I've been a big referral guy forever. Good. What else can I do for them? What else am I going to do for them? And how am I going to turn them on as referral machines? I make sure they never find anybody. They never hear of anybody where they don't call me. Right. So deeper wells, like everything that's already open houses. Good. We're going to expand. The open house has always been a great source for us. Good. We're now doing them 5 or 6 days a week. Deeper wells, more wells, deeper wells. And that's the only answer here. And then mindset, because we have a cyclical business. This could be a 2-year downturn. I mean, there's certainly when you look at the forces that have determined this looks like a 2-year unwinding before something happens that this thing shifts back to some other kind of market. And so then that's all mindset. That's like, are you going to be around when the thing turns, or are you going to be not around when the thing turns, period? I mean, while there's 40% less deals, are you going to focus on the less deals part of that sentence? Or are you going to focus on there's actually deals happening part of that sentence, right? Are you going to be really there for the 60% of deals that are still happening? And are you going to be seen as the one? And that's a mindset thing as much as it is anything else. So That, and I don't have this strategy in this market is the thing I would share with you is working. It's just, you got to keep testing and more wells, and then asking the question, how can I, maximize the wells I've already got dug? Unless you got something for me, I would love to hear. You interview a lot more people than I do.
No, well, dude, I mean, a lot of our methodologies are the same as yours, man. It's okay. Like number one, hedging for the transaction volume decline, so, okay. If like our market's down 42% is what, transaction volume decline. So then from there, it's okay. We got to generate 42% more leads. Cause I mean, what does that tell me? First of all, that tells me that there's 42% lesser people that are willing or able to transact in this given climate. Now we still have about the same amount of realtors at this point. They haven't dropped off to balance the equation out. So then what that tells me is, okay, I got to generate 42% more leads and do 42% more follow-up. Now, do we either have the lead flow with the sources that we have, or do we need to add additional, lead flow, with those? So that's, so hedging is number one, then from there, because it's the first time, in 2012 to middle of 2022 was the longest bull market in recorded history. So you could kind of show up, kind of be consistent, kind of work hard and make six figures in this business. So, and why why I say this and bring this up and why I say this to my team is that's a net positive is, dude, 95% of our industry never had to acquire the right skill sets to be able to go out there and navigate during a challenging economic time. So even though, like FSBOs and expireds are more saturated now today, like we're converting at higher rates than we ever have, because the other 50 agents calling them, they do not have the skill set to navigate those conversations to move them forward. Then from there, we're looking at, okay, what are the opportunities? So this is the second best time I found to go out there and acquire listings, my whole entire career. Because, okay, it's always, sales being pain and pleasure. Okay, who's experiencing the pain in this economic, this climate that we're in that needs our services? So, going after notice of defaults, going after investors. There's an abundance of investors, short-term vacation rentals, long-term buy and holds that bought wrong, that now that, cap rate compressions are coming down, and taxes are going up and HOAs are going up, insurance is going up, and evictions are starting to skyrocket. So they're becoming more headaches for them. So we definitely have some, new strategies that we shifted to based on the economic climate that are slaying it for us. But, I just do, and again, like you're saying, it comes to mindset where it's in our market, there's still 5,500 homes closing every single month. Now there's typically about 9,500. So it's lesser. But I'm like, dude, there's still 5,500 closings. I tell every one of my agents, I'm like, go get your 3 or 4 or 5. You don't need 5,500.
Exactly. What do you need? What you don't need,
right? But then from there, it's like in business, there's peacetime, there's times of peace, times of war. And I'm like, guys, like this is an economic war. I mean, this is wartime for business. Like if and I'm like, what happens in war? When you're in the middle of fighting a battle, like if you were a soldier, you're not going to be like, oh, time out, I need a day off. Like you fight the fucking battle until the battle's won. So I'm like, right now is not a time to seek balance. Right now, I get it. I get how stressful and tough it can be. But right now, you got to do everything that you got to do to make sure your business is growing and thriving. Because the market share, when this thing shifts and 30, 40% of the agents are dropped out in transaction, there's going to be a year period of time where we're going to all make so much freaking money. I want them making money now, but so it's all the same shit, dude. Yeah.
It's good. It's great. I love the idea. But I just took away the thing about it being wartime. I'm definitely sharing that with my team. We're even putting I'll get talking heads on the radio when we're rocking it. So let's go, baby. We could do we'll put on the face paint. It's dynamite.
Love it, man. Well, and again, we'll get, for those that are watching, listen, we'll make sure to have if you scroll below into the description or show notes, we'll have the link to Aaron's training that he mentioned there. So you can sign up, check that out. And then Aaron, for anybody that wants to, because I know you mentioned Facebook a couple of things. So it sounds like maybe you do, live trainings on Facebook
I do.
As well.
I do my mindfulness stuff on Facebook, and then they can also get to me through the realtorsedge.com, which is an app that I made. It really is just it's an app of cultivated material, curated material. So Josh, your shows are in there. Tom Ferry's shows are in there, but so it's curated in terms of
just keep mine.
Okay. Okay. There's a lot of different takes on it because a lot of different voices, but our agents spent a lot of time online looking for I need the best FSBO script. Okay. I got Brandon Mulrennan's FSBO script. I like his FSBO. I got you in there. I got other people in there. Like if you want good material, you just don't need a million FSBO scripts. There's not a million. Everyone's trying to sell you the best way to hit FSBOs. You know, there's one way to hit FSBOs is you talk to them, you build a relationship, and you follow up. That's the whole thing. There's no like, oh, secret to FSBOs, but you need a script for that. Okay, fine. So there's a script in there for that. It expires, circle prospecting, mindset stuff, all kinds of great things, podcasts that you should listen to, things like that. Books you should read. Number one book, Joshua, is going to be what on my list?
But Think and Grow Rich.
Think and Grow Rich is the first one on the goddamn list, right? Things like that. So that's all in there. And then I have proprietary training in there. I have training for people in there. And one of those pieces of training is discovering your calling. And so if people want to get to that, they can go to the realtorsedge.com and then let me know that you heard me on the GSD podcast, and I'll get you a promo code to be able to get that for free. But it's already in the app, so they can just download the app and just hit me up and say, I want the promo code for GSD. And I'll say, fuck yeah, here it is. And I'll get you in for free.
So realtorsedge.com.
The realtorsedge.com. Exactly.
So, because I mean, most people, like, we don't get a lot of, we get some on YouTube, but yeah, like almost 30x on. So most people are listening at the gym.
Yeah.
So
the realtorsedge.com, just like that. The realtorsedge.com.
So last question for you, because I know, again, we're going long on time. What are you guys doing to prep for, if anything? And the reason why I ask this, because I get blown up a dozen times a day, as I'm sure you do. We're in this real estate lawsuit era. NAR, now there's a new one. You know, like what are you doing to prep internally with your agents, if anything?
Well, in Washington, they're going to require buyer agency agreements. So those are no longer optional for us. And so that's one thing we're going to need to learn, those scripts to have buyers sign a buyer agency agreement. And other than that, not a goddamn thing, really. Yeah, I'm not going to worry about something that's not happening now, that may not happen. That, I mean, you know, because the whole thing is so fucking whacked. Yeah. It's so whacked. It's just, there's no reason for it. First of all, the first lawsuit I think was brought by buyers, and now there's a lawsuit brought by sellers. So what the fuck?
Yeah.
What? Who's getting screwed? And then to think at the end of the day, the answer the justice system is going to come to is, oh, what really serves people is that there's only a listing agent. I mean, it's mind-blowingly stupid. And the whole thing is because the NAR refused to educate its members so that people would say shit like, oh, well, you're a buyer, or you don't pay any commission. And that was sort of the lay of the land, that the NAR did this to themselves. The whole thing is just comical. And we're not doing, we'll learn whatever we need to learn, and we'll dance with it as it comes up. But I am not adding fuel to the panic about it. Yep. Something's going to happen, and whatever that is, we'll dance with it.
Yep. I agree, man. I agree. Yeah. I'm not a fan of mental masturbation, dude. Right.
Yeah.
Speculation is, man. So
yeah,
love it, man. Well, Aaron, dude, I appreciate you taking time. I'm busy to be here. This has been a lot of fun, brother.
Joshua, it is great. Maybe in another 5 or 6 years, we'll have something more to say.
Well, hopefully sooner this next.
I hope it's sooner too. Let me know if I could ever help you with mindfulness or anything like that too. So I'd love to help you with that.
Yeah, a lot, man. Appreciate it. Those watching and listening, as always, we truly appreciate your support.
Yeah.
And right below, we'll have the links for Aaron, but just in case you're listening to this and you can't access those, the realtorsedge.com.
Perfect.
So again, you guys, truly appreciate you. Keep crushing, keep kicking ass, and we'll see you next time. Peace.